So in Hong Kong, there has been a slew of school student suicides. So 4 suicides in 5 days. So a team of psychologists has been dispatched to help the pupils. Very interesting, as the government who caused all the problems for education is now coming to the aid of the students that they basically damaged and pilfered from. All right, interesting. I'm not sure if that would be my first choice of people to ask for assistance. So, what's the real story here? School students are basically told a false narrative. The narrative is this as such. If you work hard and you're smarter than other people, you get good grades, then you can get a good job. And with that good job, you can do lots of things. You can get more money, you can have a good job, you can have the nice wife or the nice husband, you can get a dog, maybe you can afford a car, and you can do all those things that you were promised when you were younger. Now, as I mentioned about 9 months ago, the salaries of Hong Kong University graduates after 20 years has actually fallen by about 20%. And that's not counting inflation. So if you count inflation, it's probably dropped like 70, 80% in value in what you can actually purchase compared to 20 years ago. So think about this. We are telling our children that if you work hard, there's this pot of gold at the end of these arduous and very difficult tasks and obstacles. But then in the last 20 or 30 years, that's completely false. In fact, it's gone in reverse. It's like the harder you work, it doesn't seem to really affect anything. You get these degrees, you get 5-star or whatever, and then you find out, hey, I'm still making $10,000 a month and I can't afford anything. I'm still living with my parents until I'm 33 years old. So why do they need to work so hard for less or worse than what was offered before? Think about this. These are just facts, so you can just take a look. So why would you work so hard? Imagine you're at a job, and your boss says, if you do all these things well for a year, then we're going to give you a promotion. And then what happens? You do all these things well after a year, and what ends up happening is, oh, actually, we can't give you that promotion. We're actually going to give you a pay cut of like 50%. That's what's happening today. There's no real bag of gold at the end of the rainbow anymore. Basically, that's what they said. They said there is, and then they take it away because it isn't there. It's just not there. And instead of reevaluating, why is this happening? You students are working so hard. They're working until midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. They're foregoing sleep and regular meals. They're going to extra tutorial classes and just busting their hump trying to get ahead. And what do they get? They get worse than what was available 10 or 20 years ago. If that's not depressing, I don't know what is. So maybe it's time for these people, the people in the education system and the parents, to really start looking at themselves, start reevaluating. These are kids. Kids are trying to please their parents, and they're trying to do what they've been told. And they've been told this false narrative constantly by the Chinese government, by the parents, by the educators, and basically by society and whole. And unfortunately, the facts don't stack up with all the things they've been saying. They've basically been lied to. So maybe, just maybe, instead of having the team of psychologists to help the depressed Hong Kong pupils, maybe the psychologists could be dispatched to assist with all the screwed up people in the government, in the education system, and all the parents that lied to their children, either willingly or unwillingly. Just because you're ignorant of the fact, you can just Google this. I'm not an expert in this. If I can find this article that shows that being a university graduate really sucks and is totally not worth it, then why would I tell my kids that, you need to work hard? Because then if you work really hard, you can get that dream job at Cafe de Coral or Broadway and earn $10,000 a month and live with us until you're 33 years old. It's not difficult to find the facts out there. This isn't like the 1850s where you have to use the Dewey Decimal System in the library to figure it out. You just go on Google, and then you just look up some stuff, and then you have facts and evidence. And then from this knowledge, you make informed decisions. Instead, what parents are doing is they ignore all that, and anybody who tells them anything counter to the official narrative that working hard is the best thing since sliced bread, and you just have to keep working hard, and disregard all the naysayers. Yeah, I know everyone has a degree, so everyone has to get a master's, and when that happens, everyone has to get a doctorate. Don't listen to all the naysayers and interlopers and infidels. All those guys are wrong. Who are you going to trust? Me, your parents, and me, the educators, and me, the government, or your own lying eyes? Well, the students might not be able to express themselves really articulately, but they're taking one route out of this crappy system. And this way, there's no lie. There's no amount of lies that can bring them back. There's no amount of coercion or manipulation that can bring these people back from the dead. Because they said, screw it. I'm really, really, really unhappy with the way things are going. And they don't have the knowledge, 100% really, to articulate it, to consciously really express it. But subconsciously, they know there's something wrong. They know there's something really, really screwed up. And the problem is that as parents, as educators, as the protectors and guardians of our children, we are the people that are supposed to stand up and put an end to lies and malarkey. We cannot say, yeah, well, it's okay. That's just how things are. You just have to work harder. No, we have to accept facts, and if things are crap, we have to say they're crap, and that's okay. Then, once we acknowledge the problem and we diagnose it, then maybe we can do something about it. But currently, what are we doing? We say, yeah, well, it's not that bad. You just have to work harder. It's all your fault, blah, 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 blah. All right. Okay. If you want to do it that way, that's fine. But this is a one-way ticket, and I don't blame them for doing it. I blame the parents, I blame the educators, and I blame the government because they haven't looked at themselves for 5 seconds. They need to reevaluate. Why are their children so unhappy? Is it possible it's because you dump your kid with some Indonesian or Filipino domestic helper? Is that possible? I mean, think about it. You have kids, and instead of spending time with your kids, you'd rather hire someone who doesn't love them, who doesn't speak their language, who doesn't know them really, and takes care of them from cradle to, 18 years of age. Is that really what family is about? Can you imagine 50 years ago where the Chinese family, the family portrait is basically the mother, the father, the children, and then domestic helpers? Now, there's nothing wrong with domestic helpers, but I mean, come on. That is not what the family was intended to be. If you're going to have children, you're going to have to take care of them. Yes, they're expensive. Yes, they take up time. But that's what happens. If you're going to get pregnant, that's just the way it works. If you're going to have children, that's just the way it works. You can't just neglect them. Because when you do, this is what happens. So way to go, guys. Take a look at yourselves, not at the children. The children are not the problem. They are simply a consequence or an effect of ill-fated attempts to ignore the cancer metastasizing in the education system. So, hope you guys really think about it. Getting sick and tired of parents absolving themselves of basically all responsibility. Because if you don't diagnose the problem right, then you're going to die from the disease.